your family saying they're going to support?
Press, we're going to stay here. Press, hold.
Okay, that was Kamala Harris's running mate, Tim Walz, again avoiding answering reporters' questions. You know, local reporters in Pennsylvania say Kamala's campaign is literally stopping them from questioning Tim Walz, as we've got a brand new allegation of a falsehood allegedly committed by him. Joining us now, former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee. Governor, always wonderful to see you again. This new report: Tim Walz repeatedly claimed as he was running for Congress that he was close. He was about to get his doctorate in education, but this school, St. Mary's University of Minnesota, said he didn't complete the program. When you see all this put together, what's your assessment of Tim Walz?
In Arkansas, we would call him a pop-eyed liar, somebody who just cannot bring himself to tell the truth. This is really bizarre. I mean, his biography is not that embarrassing. He's got a nice life story. He could tell it. He doesn't have to embellish it or lie about it. He ought to just say, look, I served 24 years in the National Guard. That's honorable. But I never went to war. A lot of people don't. Nothing wrong with that. What's wrong about it is lying. In this case, I'm really close to my PhD. Well, the truth is, he left that school in 2004, never went back. They don't have any record of him working on it since then. And that was 20 years ago. I mean, it'd be like me telling you that at 69 years old, I'm really working hard to get my Eagle Scout, and I'm really close to it. And after that, I'm going to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame because I've been playing guitar since I was 11 years old. You'd say, you've lost your mind. And I'd say, well, this guy doesn't need to be vice president then.
Wait a minute. None of what you just said about yourself is true? I always thought it was. No, I'm kidding.
I should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
That's
you should.
True. That
you
is
rock
true.
on, you governor, you. So, it's really interesting. So when you look at his polling averages, Governor, by the way, you're a great guitarist. So the voters are getting more polarized. 538 averages, his favorability has dropped about 5 points. So he embellishes his military record. He has 2 House probes against him. Now we've got a photo circulating online, Governor, that shows Governor Walz standing outside a local bakery in Minnesota that he forced to shut down during his coronavirus lockdown orders.
It just keeps getting worse for him. And you add to that his own family is going to all vote for Trump. I mean, I'd really be embarrassed if my own family said, we'll come to Thanksgiving dinner. We ain't voting for you, because you ain't got any business being elected to something. That really hurt.
Listen. I think that the Kamala Harris administration is really, really regretting not being able to, and I'm not even going to hang this on her, right? I'm just going to say that this is a reflection of what being thrown into and hand-selected and not going through a primary and being able to actually, go through the process and rushing through things in order to try to get into office. I'm not even going to blame her for this. I got some other things that I'm going to talk about later, but we're not going to blame her for this. But I would imagine that they already got him. You can't take it back, no take backs. And so it's nothing that you can do to then say, oh man, we actually don't want Tim Walz. We didn't think that he was the person, or we thought that he was a person that was going to win us Minnesota and endear us to the Midwest. But in reality, he embellished his record like a lot of people do when they go for an interview, except for when you start to run for public office, specifically the vice president and the president of the United States of America. You actually got to be 100% of what you said that you were. And so not only do we have the stolen valor hanging over his head, but then also you got on top of that, he was over there acting like he was going to go back and finish his doctorate, which you didn't have to embellish that. You didn't have to embellish anything about your military record or being in the National Guard and saying that you carry weapons of war and all of that stuff. You didn't have to say none of that, right? And then you certainly didn't have to take a photo op in front of a place, a restaurant, or a small business that you forced to close in order to swing the election for Biden in 2020, which we all know now that, in my opinion, it was a plan, not necessarily something that was honestly being presented to the American people, and then you forced people to take the vax and all of that. But that's a whole nother conversation. Here's the thing. This is the nail in the coffin for me. And nothing could be more embarrassing than this right here. Your entire family don't like you so much and think that you are so bad for this position. I don't want to hear nothing from Charlamagne and all of them about America's dad. I don't want to hear nothing else about people that's saying that they love him and he's so progressive. I don't want to hear nothing about whether or not the governor. Look, if my family hated me, they would still love and support me. And there's no way that you can be this bad of a human being because, see, we only know what they present him. He won't answer no questions. Even when he was on there for that interview with Kamala Harris and they were doing an interview and stuff like that, he didn't answer the question. He didn't go back and actually clarify his whole stolen valor thing. He just kind of skipped along it. And, he just kind of went along with it. And I'm very surprised, well, maybe not so much so, that the interviewer that didn't absolutely press J.D. Vance and was all on their head top didn't continue to press him to force him to answer for the fact that he did, lie about his stolen valor, which I polled a lot of people that was on the Millionaire Morning Show, and they said, hey, man, this is absolutely one of the most disrespectful things that you can do is to pretend like you did something that you didn't in order to get the, all of the visibility and all of the benefits, but you didn't really do it. Nobody is going to hate on you for being a part of it. Just admit it and just be real. And J.D. Vance called that out. But when you see this, when you see what looks like the matriarch of the family, the oldest woman in the family, then every single part, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, at least 8 people, and we don't even know about the kids, but at least 8 people put on, they didn't only say, listen, they didn't just be quiet. They came out with Trump shirts on and posed for a picture, and now it's going viral all over the internet, but don't nobody want to have that conversation. I was listening to, was it D.L. Hughley or was it Charlamagne? Oh, man, I like him. It's like he's America's dad. So she's Kamala, he's America's dad. Let me ask you a question. Would you want somebody to be in office, the second most powerful person, if anything was to ever happen to the president, they're the one that's going to push the button. They're the ones that's going to have the tie-breaking vote for a lot of the legislation that's passed through. A person that has stolen valor, does not want to be honest about who it is that he are, skips questions, and then has such a questionable past, especially with when it relates to, some of the things that he's done inside of boys' bathrooms and stuff like that. Would you want that person to actually be the second most powerful person, let alone you got Kamala Harris right there at the top of the ticket? Me personally, I don't. If your own family, your whole family, not just some of them, but your whole family will, in the middle of an election, right before November, will put on Trump shirts and say that they don't even rock with you, that's got to mean something. Like, that's a big deal. Like, I know people who family and them, they go back and forth, but you can't say nothing about them because, listen, at the end of the day, they may be a little bit different, but that's they different. When you hate it so much by your own family that they willing to come out with all of these T-shirts and say, we don't rock with him, we rock with the ops, that's a problem. I'm curious as to what y'all think. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description. Also, Teach Hanley, 40% off your first order, 20% off for life. I love you. I appreciate you. I am curious as to what you guys think about this. Let me know inside of the comments. Do you think that Tim Walz should be vice president? And do you think that Kamala Harris and her campaign feels as though they made a mistake by selecting Tim Walz for vice president as their running mate in order to try to get them into the White House? Can't wait to read your comments.